I've been there spending a few bucks on a cheap mesh chair that looks sleek online, only to find it wobbling after a week, the armrests digging in, and the recline feeling like a stiff spring. That kind of buyer's regret makes any mid-range office chair feel like a gamble, especially when you're trying to balance comfort, aesthetics, and budget. The question is whether the Humanscale Diffrient world with adjustable Duron arms lands on the smarter side of that gamble, or if it's just another pretty-looking piece that won't stand up to a full workday. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, this chair lives in the ergonomic design niche that's been dominated for years by big-name ergonomic brands. The Diffrient world is the brainchild of Niels Diffrient, a designer who pioneered the idea of weight-sensitive recline, which means the chair adjusts its back tilt resistance based on how much you weigh and how you shift. In practice, that translates to a recline that feels natural, no need to hunt for a tension knob or worry about a sudden snap back. For someone who spends 8 or more hours at a desk, that automatic support can make a noticeable difference compared to a standard tilt lock or manually weighted recline. What I appreciated right away was the simplicity of the control layout. There are only 2 manual settings you actually touch: the seat height lever and the armrest adjustment. The seat height is a classic pneumatic lift, smooth and reliable, and the Duron arms glide forward and backward with a gentle click. There's no complex levers or hidden buttons, which means you spend less time fiddling and more time working. That minimalism is a design choice, not a cost-cutting measure. The chair is built from a reduced parts count, about 1/3 of what you'd find in a typical high-end office chair, and it still feels sturdy. Weight-sensitive recline is the centerpiece, but it's worth noting where the trade-offs sit. Because the recline mechanism is passive, you can't dial in a specific resistance level. If you're on the lighter side, the chair may feel a little soft when you lean back, while heavier users might experience a firmer feel. That's not a defect, it's the way the system is engineered. The upside is you get a self-adjusting experience without manual tweaks, but the downside is you lose the fine-tuning that a manual tension knob would give you. If you have very specific recline preferences, you might miss that level of control. The mesh back and seat are another point that often sparks debate. The Pinstripe graphite mesh is visually striking, and the open weave promotes airflow, which is a blessing in a warm office or a home workspace without climate control. I've found that after a couple of hours the seat stays cool, and the back doesn't trap heat the way a padded leather chair would. The mesh does, however, feel a bit thinner than some higher-priced leather or high-density foam options. If you tend to sink into cushions, you'll notice the difference. The chair still provides enough support for most people, but you won't get that sink-in plush feel that some users love. One practical detail that often gets overlooked is the casters. This model ships with soft hard floor casters, softer than typical hard floor wheels, but still able to roll on carpet without leaving marks. In my home office, which has a mix of hardwood and a low-pile rug, the chair glides smoothly without scratching the wood. The trade-off is that the casters aren't as robust as the heavy-duty polymer wheels you'd find on industrial chairs, so if you have a high-traffic environment or need to move the chair frequently over rough surfaces, you might see some wear after a year or so. Now, who should actually consider buying this chair? If you're a professional who spends long stretches at a desk, value a design that adapts without manual fiddling, and appreciate a clean aesthetic that doesn't dominate the room, the Diffrient world is a solid match. It's especially appealing for freelancers, remote workers, or small to medium businesses that want a chair that looks upscale without the massive price tag of a fully customized ergonomic model. The light weight, around 30 pounds, makes it easier to reposition, which is handy if you need to reconfigure a home office or share a workspace. On the other side, this isn't the best pick for a few specific groups. First, if you have a very low budget and are looking for a bare-bones chair, you'll likely find cheaper alternatives that meet the basic need to sit, even if they lack the weight-sensitive recline and mesh breathability. Second, if you have very specific lumbar support needs, say you require an adjustable lumbar pad or a highly contoured seat cushion, you might feel the Diffrient World's minimalist approach is too sparse. Finally, if you're a gamer or someone who spends many hours in a forward-leaning posture, like a programmer who hunches over a keyboard, you may want a chair with a deeper seat and more pronounced forward tilt, which this model doesn't prioritize. Looking at the price point, the Diffrient World sits in the